Welcome back to my workshop for the start of another project. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to make a lady's evening bag. To start off, I've cut myself a piece of leather, and in this video I'm going to be using black patent leather. So it's, as you can see, it's got a nice shiny finish, so you've got to be very careful to make sure you protect the finish. It's slightly thinner than the normal stuff I work with. It's about 2mm thick. And I've cut myself a rectangle like that, and that's going to be the start of the bag. So the first job is I'm just going to shape the corners here of what's going to be the flap that comes over the front, just to give it a slightly softer look. So the first thing I want to do is just to mark on here using a gel pen. Because it's really thin leather, or thin in my terms anyway, I can cut this out using a pair of scissors. Just very carefully, and as you can see I've now got a rounded corner, so I'll do both of them. So while I was doing the corners for the front, I've also cut myself two little pieces, and these are going to be the sides. And again, I've made them nice and round, and I'm just quickly running some edge dye down the sides, and then I'll polish that, and then that just finishes the edges quite nicely. As you can see, there's nothing worse than having raw edges, and it just screams poor quality bag. Well, that's the edges polished. So now, using this tool here, I'm just going to run a little crease line down the edges, just to give it a little bit of decoration and to strengthen the edges. Now I have heated this tool up by putting it on a hot plate for a few minutes, so be very careful when you touch the ends. And this just puts a little tiny bit of decoration on the edges, and you go very carefully round the corner. It's very easy to slip, and as we're making something that we like to think is going to go out on the town, and I want it to look really, really nice. Now normally on a bag I like to put a sort of a buckle or a belt type fastening on it, because I think they're much stronger. But that could be a bit clunky for what we're trying to do. So in this instance I'm going to use these, which is a magnetic fastener. Now this will fit on the inside there, and it will come through somewhere around here, and we'll see that in a moment. But what you end up with, that bit obviously folds over, but that's going to end up looking really horrible in the middle of the bag. So what I'm going to make, and I've cut myself a paper template, there's a tiny little bit of decoration there, which is actually going to mask the inside of that. And I thought I'd make the decoration about this nice piece of burgundy leather, which will give a very nice contrast up against the black. So as you can see, I've marked on the back, and then all I've got to do is cut it out. So easy, I hear you say. Now because this is a fairly thick piece of leather, this is about 3 or 4mm thick, I'm going to do it using my saddler's knife, and you just ever so carefully and ever so slowly, little tiny cuts, moving it around with your fingers as you go. Don't try and do it all in one big go, because you'll never manage it. And that's what we end up with. And then we're going to sew that onto the front of that. So having polished the edges is to mark out for the stitches. Now normally I would use a stitch marker like this, but because I'm having to go around lots and lots of corners, I'm going to use one of these, which is an old sort of stitch marker that a cobbler would use. I've run a little line along there, so I'll just put my stitch marker down. I'm going to have to be particularly careful with the sewing because I am going to be using black thread, and obviously black thread up against red leather is going to show, so I've got to be very careful and incredibly neat. So before we put our little emblem on the front, I need to mark out and fit the magnetic catch on the front. Fits on there like that, but you can see why I need something to go over the top of that just to mask that. So we're now going to fix our little motif like that. Now, as with all of my sewing, I'm doing a saddlery stitch. So I use 2 needles and are coming from both sides. So now, as you can see, we've got our little motif put on the front. So now I need to fix the straps that enable you to hold the bag. So I'm going back to my standard upholstery tacks. In order to do this, I've made myself a nice little strap like this. I've marked it out with stitches, I run a crease down it, and I've also skived the end. So when it fits together like that and it's sewn down, it's got a nice bevel to it. Again, that's a sign of a sort of a quality bag rather than something that's been just thrown together. So I'll get this one in place, and then I'll come over and do this one. Just quickly sew those in, and then we'll be ready to start actually making the bag up. If you enjoy my videos, you can always sign up for the blog. You can either get it through Facebook or direct at Tom Green Craft, and you'll find details at the bottom of the screen. Well, we've reached the point that we've got our lugs on the back there ready to attach the strap, and this is our emblem on the front, which is hiding the catch. So the next job is to attach the sides. So what I've done is I've stitch marked all the way along the edge here, and these are the sides. They're not going to be very big sides, so what I'm going to do is just going to put one piece in place, get it to where I want it, just line it up. So as you can see, I've now sewn around both sides, and I've fitted the other half of our magnetic catch, and that all fits together like that. So that's the bag itself sewn together. Now, it's been very interesting to see the reaction of people as they come into my workshop to this bag. It's caused quite a lot of controversy. When I set out to make it, my idea was that I was going to put a full length belt or a strap to go up and over your shoulder, and that's what I will do. Somebody else suggested I just make a single strap, short one, just so it'd be like a handbag strap. Other people want me to leave it as a clutch bag. Somebody suggested I put a little wrist strap there. Some more people wanted the lugs to be at the side so it would go up. And all this goes to show is the number of different ways you can take a simple design and change it into something different. So I've cut myself a nice long thin piece of leather. This is 25mm thick, which is going to be our shoulder strap. And the first job is to put a point on one end. So working on the back, always work on the back, and that will become the point on the buckle part of the strap. I'll then mark out some holes. The chances are, once we make this, it's never going to change, but I always feel better giving people a choice. So So what I've marked is 3 holes, each one 1.5 inches apart, and then using a punch like this, so that's our 3 holes punched. So now we need to finish the edges of the belt. So I shall stain and polish the edges, and I shall also run the creasing tool down the side here as I've done before. When I fix the straps onto the bag, I always assume that everybody's going to be right-handed. I don't know why, maybe because I'm right-handed. And so therefore the bag is going to be worn on the right-hand side. That's going to come down the other side, and then we're going to do another little short strap with a buckle here, which is then going to line up with that one. If you buy one of my bags and you're left-handed, do tell me, and I'll make sure that I always do it the other way around just for you. As I mentioned earlier, this bag was an experiment. It's not for sale. It's just one that I wanted to try and see if I can get the techniques right. And having now made it, I think there's a few improvements that I can make. A number of people have already expressed their opinion. If you'd like an opportunity to express your opinion and join in the design process, you can have a look at my blog, or you can join up with me on Facebook. All the details you'll find at the bottom of the screen. So here we have the bag with one strap on. Now again, one of the other things you can do is you can customise just how long you want this strap to be. Now, as this is an experimental bag, this is going to end up with one of the ladies in my family, I feel sure, and I know roughly how tall they are. So they're all slightly shorter than me. So if I stand up, that means I need to make that strap about that long. So all I need to do now is to put a buckle on the end of that. So this is the buckle we're going to use. It's almost my universal buckle. And as you can see, that's now our buckle. So we just need to sew that piece on. If you've seen my videos before, it's something I do in almost every single video, so I won't bother showing you how to do it on this one. So there you are, the final stitch is done. So we've got a ladies' evening bag with a shoulder strap. That's not bad. It was an experiment of the bag, and I'm sure when I do it again there'll be 1 or 2 bits that I'll probably want to change. If you have any comments or design ideas you'd like to share with me, do get in touch. There's plenty of ways you can do it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. See you again. Bye bye.